On November 17th, 2023, members of the Pierce County Sheriff's Office surrounded a residence occupied by a male homicide suspect wanted by law enforcement. While the female occupant complied with initial commands, the male suspect refused to cooperate. As the Pierce County SWAT team worked to de-escalate the situation, the suspect opened fire on officers with a rifle from an unknown concealed location. The team requested mutual aid support from the Kitsap County SWAT and Washington State Patrol SWAT teams, and the combined teams freed the female hostage and began working on a barricaded suspect. However, over the next few hours, the teams were confronted by a series of novel problems, as the suspect first attempted to flee in a vehicle, then barricaded himself inside the garage, and finally, the freed female hostage re-entered the scene, turning the problem back into a hostage situation that necessitated a crisis entry in a vehicle. My guests today are Joel Anderson and Bob Shaw. Joel Anderson has worked for Washington State Patrol since 2004, serving in rural and urban areas in patrol and investigations. Joel began his time on the Washington State Patrol SWAT team in 2012 as a part-time team member, since holding positions as an assistant team leader, and is currently the tactical commander. Joel began teaching for the Washington State Tactical Officers Association in 2015 and is currently the vice president of the association. Bob Shaw began his law enforcement career with the Rolling Meadows Police Department in Illinois in 2001. During that time, he spent 3 years assigned to the NIPAS Emergency Services Team, including 2 years as a member of the Sniper Element. In 2007, Bob lateraled to the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. In 2012, he joined the SWAT team, initially serving as an entry team member before transitioning into a sniper role, and eventually became the sniper team leader. In 2022, he was appointed the senior entry team leader. During his time with Pierce County, Bob has served as a rescue diver with the Metro Dive Team, a gang deputy, a peer support team member, a narcotics detective, and as a cross-commissioned federal task force officer with the Tacoma DEA Task Force. Bob was promoted to patrol sergeant in 2022 and has been a Cadre member for the Washington State Tactical Officers Association since that time. My name is John Becker. For the past 4 decades, I've dedicated my life to protecting tactical operators. During this time, I've worked with many of the world's top law enforcement and military units. As a result, I've had the privilege of working with the amazing leaders who take teams into the world's most dangerous situations. The goal of this podcast is to share their stories in hopes of making us all better leaders, better thinkers, and better people. Welcome to the debrief. Guys, thanks for being here with me.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate the opportunity.
So maybe let's set up the teams first so people understand, because we have 3 different teams that are involved, 2 different teams that are represented in our conversation. So why don't we start with Pierce County's team?
Pierce County, I think we've got, at the time of the incident, we had 26 people. Commander, 17 on entry. I was the primary TL. I've got 3 ATLs under me. And then we've got 4 snipers at the time. And we've got 6 negotiators. At the time, we didn't have any TEMs on scene with us. We do have a K9 that was assigned to us at the time of the incident.
Part-time team?
Part-time team, kind of unique, at least in some aspects, as we work. Our negotiators are part of our team, and they are not a separate CNT or anything like that. They are our negotiations team. They're train with us every training day, whether they're doing their own thing, but training day is a training day. We all meet up at the beginning of that training day. Then, snipers might go off, do their own thing. Entry goes and does their thing, but negotiators are there with us.
But negotiators are not operators. Negotiators are negotiators only.
Correct.
Okay.
And that relationship has really helped build a lot of trust between us. Like, I trust if they say, hey, give us a couple minutes, I think we can do this, we'll give them that extra time. Whereas if they say, nope, it's all yours, then I know that they have done what they can and exhausted those options. So.
Nice. What's the op tempo of the team like?
Between probably 45 to 60 missions a year. Okay. Kind of runs the gambit, depends on, quite a few warrant services, lots of barricades, that type of stuff. A couple pieces of armor. We've got a armored Bobcat that got donated to us.
Nice.
But we serve all of Pierce County, and we do a pretty good job of making ourselves available to outside agencies and outside entities that need SWAT help. Come help them out and provide either armor or manpower or anything like that.
And just for people, like from a standpoint, Pierce County is the area around Tacoma, south of Seattle.
Yep. So the Tacoma Narrows Bridge is in Pierce County, goes all the way out to Mount Rainier National Park. The park's actually in the county.
Got it. Okay. Joel, what about WSP?
Yeah, so statewide team, part-time team primarily, made up of 39 people. So we have a lieutenant that oversees our narcotics section, and then the SWAT team as well. I sit in the full-time position that we have, and at the time of this, we just had one sergeant that was a full-time position. Everyone else is collateral duty, so detectives, troopers from across the state, and sergeants that we have. We got 3 entry elements. Each one has a TL and ATL assigned to it, and a 6-person sniper section. And then we have 10 negotiators, TL and ATL on that as well. At the time of this incident, I was supervising all those different sections. So we had about 21 on entry. For this specific call, we were in an assisting role. So Bob had requested us as far as our armor capability with one of our Bearcats, and then just a small contingent. So there ended up being 9 of us that deployed, including myself, and then the lieutenant as well for some command post operation support. Overall, our team, we've had quite a bit of uptick as far as calls. We run between 80 and 120 calls a year for the past 3 years. And that's everything from maritime operations to undercover, close cover, or close cover for undercover operations, those type of things.
As a state police team, as a state patrol team, is most of your work supporting other agencies with their problems, like taking over other people's incidents, or is it self-initiated stuff?
So for in progress, yes, we're supporting a lot of the other agencies that don't have those capabilities, and or the teams that need additional support on those for a lot of in progress things. We do have a lot of areas that still don't have teams, or of relatively small regional teams, or like TRT level things.
Yeah.
And so we'll relieve them on those calls. For our pre-planned stuff, it's all across the board. So a lot of self-initiated stuff from our agency. We have a lot of different detective units throughout the state. A lot of guys that are in different drug task force throughout the state as well. And so we'll serve those. On the patrol side, it's not as much, just because a lot of those are going to be more in progress type things that stem from pursuits, stuff like that, vehicle barricades. And this.
Like this case is right as an instance of local agency calling for support.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
So why don't we let's set this thing up? Okay. How do you guys first get involved? How does Pierce County first get involved in this case?
So we own the case. It was there was a homicide that occurred in our county back in August of 2024. This incident occurred in November of 2024. They spent a fair amount of time trying to find the suspect. They had contacted another suspect, gotten good intel on the main suspect, which is the guy we were looking for. Detectives spent time trying to find him. They got a hold of our FBI Safe Streets task force, started working with them to work on phone pings and trying to locate this guy. So they are able to continue the investigation. They narrow it down to 2 probable locations that he might go to. One of those was up in Kitsap County in the city of Bremerton, which is about a half hour from our northern county line on the Key Peninsula, Gig Harbor Peninsula area. So the other position, or the other house, was on an island over in Mason County, which is a county to the west of us. It was decided if they're able to ID him at the Bremerton house, our team would go up and take care of it. The command had already made notifications. Everybody was on board with that. If he landed at the Mason County house, it was going to go to them. So the couple days prior to the incident, investigators contacted his girlfriend at the Bremerton location where she lived with her son. She had signs of fresh assault, like bruises. She refused to let him take pictures. During that interview, she admitted to helping him not be found throughout the investigation earlier on. Wouldn't tell him where he was at or anything like that. So surveillance had been on that house a couple of times. Pretty sure surveillance got burned a couple of times. So they just kept plugging away. They had warrants out for the pings on the phones that they figured that he would have. And day prior to the actual incident on the 16th of November, pings start up down in the Portland area. So our guys contact Portland FBI office and their task force and say, hey, can you go see if you can locate this vehicle? If you can find one of the vehicles, you guys can get a tracker on it. So team goes out, tries to find it. They find the vehicle, but as they're setting up on it, bad guy comes out along with the female, get into the vehicle and start driving northbound. So,
and the female that comes out with is the female that ultimately is going to be part of this incident, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. The girlfriend, he actually throughout the incident refers to her as his wife. So
okay.
They've been together for a long time. Yeah. So they start northbound. There was another female that got in the car. She got out. They made one stop on the trip north. She got out there. It lands at the residence, and it is a male and a female. Our guys up in on surveillance where it lands, they can't positively ID him. And since it made that stop, there was still kind of some question if that was him in the car. She gets out. She's talking to somebody in the car. They can see there's another person. She gets out, opens the garage door, car pulls in, garage door shuts. Well, they were coming northbound. It's about a 3-hour drive from Portland to where they were headed. We got phone calls. Our task force officer in the Safe Streets task force is actually a former SWAT commander from our team. So he knew what our capabilities were. We had discussions amongst ourselves. Team leaders got notified as to what was going on. I fielded the phone call from our prior commander from the task force and said, hey, this is what's going on. What do you guys want to do? Well, we had the discussion. Do we want to try a mobile takedown? Is that an option for us? Or do we want to let it land at the residence? The year prior, about 18 months prior to this incident, we were doing a vehicle takedown, and Deputy Dom Collado was shot and killed, and Sergeant Rich Scaniff, who was team commander at the time, he was acting in a TL role, was shot and severely wounded. Dom was killed. Rich came back to the team. He's now our team commander throughout this incident. So our team was not in a position to do a mobile takedown on this guy. We knew he was armed. We weren't even going to try it. So the decision was made. We're going to let it land at the wherever it lands. As they're coming north, as they're getting close to the Pierce County line, kind of hedge our bets, sent out a page for our armor, which is staged kind of central in our county. We knew it was going to be about an hour and a half drive for them to get to the location in Bremerton.
Okay.
So as they're bad guys nearing the Pierce County line, we start armor rolling towards the Bremerton house, figuring that we got a pretty good shot at that's where he's going to go.
Sure.
So the leadership group, it was team commander, myself, and one of our ATLs head up to Bremerton. We stage not too far away from the house, watching this thing unfold, listening to surveillance coming north with it. As it gets to the house, we immediately send out a page, get the rest of the team coming towards the house. We then have another discussion as to, hey, are we going to wait for more people to get there? Or are we going to roll in and just lock the scene down as soon as our armor gets on scene? So it's going to be, the leadership group, drivers of the armor. We've got a couple of the task force surveillance guys on surveillance, like they can help contain this problem. that's all. Ultimately, what we decided to do was to roll in, surround this place, lock it down, because we didn't want him to go mobile again and lose the chance of, getting him into custody.
Got it. And you say roll in, like conspicuously roll in.
Yep. So we
notifications or okay.
Yep. So we got close while we were waiting for armor. In our patrol cars, we were just staged a block or so away in case he did go mobile. We were going to make him not mobile anymore and take him into custody. But we have an MRAP and a Bearcat. So we rolled up front yard with the Bearcat, lights on, started making announcements. MRAP rolled up, started making announcements, lights on, no doubt who we were or anything like that. A few minutes in, female comes out, hands up, super compliant. Ask him or ask her, where's the suspect at? She's like, I don't know. He's not here. There's nobody else here. You guys can go in and check if you want, but he's not here. Okay.
You have an arrest warrant or arrest warrant and a search warrant?
Arrest and search warrant.
Okay.
So, and that was one of the other things too, was when we were deciding whether or not to roll in there. One of the driving factors was Fresh Ping came in, put the phone there. So again,
he's there.
Bets, he's there. We're going to stop him from leaving this place. We've got him locked down. We're going to roll in and see what we can do.
And at this point, she's looking to you like she's maybe mildly co-conspiratory because he's there, but she's lying to you about it.
She is. And we knew through the investigation, the DV relationship, that he beats me, but I still love him type of thing, as evidence from a couple days prior, she had fresh marks on her, that type of thing, but yet wouldn't help us with the investigation.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew where her head was at in it. Pretty common DV victim. And so she walked away and spent a fair amount of time with the investigators doing interviews and trying to elicit some more information from her as to where he might be, whether he's armed, those types of things. They got nearly nothing from her as far as any of that and where he might be in the house.
Got it. Okay. So you guys are set up in a containment posture.
Yep.
And waiting for the rest of the team to get there.
Yep, exactly. We set up and we were starting to get people arriving. Knew we had a better part of the team there. We were about maybe 40 minutes into being there. Both pieces of armor had enough for arrest teams and to start doing some work at the house. It's a corner lot, residential neighborhood. Across the street is a house, kind of a bigger front yard, smaller house, and then kind of the next street to the south. On that corner, there was a big church there. So we wound up using that church lot as the command post location. Once this thing kind of gets going and kicks off, that's where the investigators were staged at, waiting for to be able to roll up to take custody of him when we got him into custody. So on what would be the two side of the house or the west side of the house, there was a truck parked there. Windows were clear. You could see that there's clearly nobody in that truck. There was a van. You couldn't see into the back of the van. It was a white work van. And then there was an RV trailer parked on that side of the house as well, kind of backed in with its tail, kind of at that 2-3 corner of the house. The houses to the north, and it kind of plays into it, were on a little bit higher grade than the target house. So it wasn't real beneficial to be like trying to look over that fence or anything like that, because you're like looking over the fence, but then you're looking down into the yard. So it was kind of there was a bigger shop from the house to the north that one of the snipers actually tried to utilize that, but it was a metal roof and he wasn't going to be able to hang out there. So wound up a couple houses down. I think maybe a house and a shop down was one of our sniper spots. And started just making announcements and working it like a typical barricade.
And then what happened?
So we start to shrink the problem. We want to take the van and the trailer out of the equation, not have to worry about it. Team from the MRAP moves up to they work their way around the van, and there's stuff piled all over the place. And so they got to work through some sheets of plywood, and it's kind of backed up against a hedgerow to the north. And so they weave their way through there, and there's an open area under at the back of the van and under the awning where the awning's out on the RV trailer. And there's all sorts of stuff on the ground and toys and this and that and just junk. There's a hedgerow and a fence that lead into the backyard. And in the backyard, on the 3 side of the house, but at that corner is a larger, I guess it's a shed, like man cave shed. It's got a roof that extends up, almost touches the roof of the house. It's pretty good size. But team moves up. They're able to clear most of the van. They get up to that kind of open area by the front of, or by the side of the trailer. They ask, "Hey, do you want us to clear this?" And I specifically remember I told them, "Yeah, go ahead. If it's unlocked, go ahead and make entry in there. Let's get that cleared." So it wasn't, I don't know, a couple seconds after that I was standing with our team commander at the time at the back of our Barricade on the one side, and start hearing something into my head. Like immediately I was like, I told him if it was unlocked, like, why are they setting a Halligan trying to get in that door? And it clicked almost immediately that no, that's not what's going on. They're actually getting shot at. Looked over that way, and in the light of from the armor, you could actually see pieces of the trees coming off as shots are going off over there. So the team retreats back out of that open area, back around the side of the van, over the plywood, and back out to the MRAP. It was the TL I probably asked no less than 4 times. Make sure everybody's okay. Like nobody got hit. It's a perfect alley on that side from shooting from the back of the house. How none of those guys got hit over on that side of the house, I have no idea.
I'll say with that, like as another team and working with their team quite a bit, and just in general, like teaching immediate action drills, plan response to an unplanned event, watching the video of their team and their response on this and the reaction to those shots being fired was honestly textbook. Clear communication, everybody remained calm. People did a bounding, I guess, move back to cover. The set, move calls throughout. As soon as everyone was back behind armor, even without Bob queuing, as far as them checking, everybody's checking each other. Everybody good from the ATL running the element all the way down. It was one of those, like, watching it and knowing their team, like I was proud for them in that moment. And it was something that their team should definitely be proud of, and other teams, like I think it demonstrates the importance of immediate action drills. Anytime that you're doing that in your training, whether it's immediate action drills, hostage rescue training, like developing that confidence in it and having something to go back to demonstrated itself in this, especially.
Yeah. Well, and then just have that moment. I'm sure as a TL, you're pretty happy with your boys.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, okay. So the team then falls back to armor.
Yep.
Do you know where the guy's shooting from?
No. So at that point, we couldn't tell if he was in that shed, if he was just in the backyard, or if he was shooting out of the back of the actual residence, out of a window or out of the garage or something like that. So no idea where he's at. Can obviously tell it's rifle fire. So at that point, get in touch with team commander, with Rich, and we start going back and forth as to start getting other assets rolling our way. I knew Kitsap knew what their capabilities were as far as their armor, and I needed another piece of armor on that 4 side as a containment spot. And with the fact that he's shooting at us with armor, I don't want people out on foot in containment spots. So I knew what I wanted. So Rich was on the phone with Kitsap, getting them coming. I tried to call Joel, but my friend didn't answer the phone. So I had to call his ATL, who then called Joel. So find out who your friends are.
Screening my phone calls.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
But I knew
An awkward time to find out that you
Right.
sent it a voicemail, but it happens.
Yeah, it does.
But I know that having worked with his team in the past, trained with his team in the past, I know what their capabilities are. I know that they have the ram cam and gas deployment system on their boom for their Bearcat. I knew that I needed to get that van, that RV out of the way, and be able to clear a path to get towards that backyard. If he's in the shed, I wanted the capability to put gas in there via that gas deployment system on the
Sure.
Bearcat. But I wanted workspace on that side of the house. So we got those coming. We got aircraft up overhead, state patrol plane, and I believe King County's helicopter came over and was overhead for a little while. State patrol, their Smoky aircraft, came over and circled for quite a while. And then one of our bomb guys who came out for the call out was able to put a drone up. Still wasn't getting a whole lot out of that drone until a little bit later on. But yeah, so just kind of waited for those assets to arrive. While we were waiting, we were putting gas into the front of the house, into the main structure, figuring that if we could drive him, if he were in that house, we could figure that out by, hearing some response, or if he was in there, we'd maybe drive him out with the gas. The way that the house was set up, the front was all open. So we were actually able to put our Bearcat almost the side of it up against the front of the house, parallel to it. We were able to look in the windows, reach out of one of the gun ports with a break and rake tool, take windows. I was able to clear most of the front bedroom from inside of our armor, just looking out the window. So it gave us time just to start working that problem and collapsing that scene some more.
And at this point, you still have no idea where the suspect is.
Nope.
Just he's somewhere between the house, trailer, shed, and garage.
Yeah. So it was an attached garage. Garage was on that end of the house, but just in the back of the house was that shed. There's the walkway in between the house and the shed. So again, no idea where he was at back there. We narrowed it down pretty quickly. That team figured that he wasn't in the trailer, just the way that the shots were coming out, where the trees were pieces were coming down. Figured that he was probably in that backyard or in the shed.
Got it. Okay. All right. So how long until your team shows up on scene?
It's I'd say about 2 hours from the time originally that Bob called. We played phone tag, and then once we got connected with that, it's kind of unique in the sense of like our call out procedures for our team being a statewide team. We do have to run everything through our chain of command on that side. So it's a challenge that we go through as far as the deployment. So in order to call everybody out, we go all the way to the chief as far as that approval process goes. In this case, it was for the initial armor assist and then just a small element. So ended up spinning up. There was 9 of us total, counting my commander, ended up going out and deploying out for that. So when we got on scene, the focus was around the suspect shooting at us at that point. And so even when I arrived to the command post, I can hear shots being cracked off from a rifle. You can hear the rounds being fired. They have, at that point, Kitsap County's already on scene. So they've got 3 pieces of armor that are working containment around the structure. So it's basically set up that one at the 1-2, Kitsap County at the 1-4, and then their MRAP at the 2-3 corner of the property, which is kind of the area where this, the van, the 5th wheel, and then the shed is just off that 2-3 corner on the 3 side. And so that was, once we showed up on scene, Bob and I linked up, kind of got the brief on what was occurring at that point. And I'll be honest, in hindsight, I don't remember really much of any conversation in regards to other occupants that had come out. We were focused on the fact that there was a known suspect there. He was shooting at us, and our goal was to further collapse that problem down, identify and confirm where he was at, and then start working on getting him in custody.
Okay. So give me just kind of overall rough timeline. Incident kicks off about what time?
I think we rolled in there probably about 3, right around 3-ish. So they locate him about 11 o'clock on the 16th. He starts northbound. We roll in probably 3 o'clock ish.
3 p.m.
3
3
a.m.
a.m.
3
Okay,
a.m.
so it's night, it's dark.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
actually played into it too, as we had a my team had a security detail for a funeral the day before, so I kind of knew what everybody's schedule had looked like and timelines as far as then the call out came. So I knew everybody had been up the day before for a day shift schedule. People started maybe getting an hour of sleep. Some of us didn't get really any sleep, so that played into my thought process. And that was a discussion that we had a little bit later on was, hey, around noon, I want another team relieving us.
Yeah.
And that was one that I had with the command post early on. But yeah, just started.
So 3 a.m. kicks off.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. 3 a.m. kicks off about 3:30, 3:45-ish, somewhere in there. He starts shooting at us. And then started making notifications right away. Kitsap's team, probably about a 45-minute hour response. A little bit after that.
And an hour after that, Joel's team gets there.
Yeah.
So by like 5:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
you've got 3 teams on scene. And how long did the suspect has an initial engagement with you guys? Does he continue to shoot, or what is how many rounds does he put out?
All total from his concealed location, he put, I think they counted 51 rounds
Approximately, yeah.
out of there.
So he keeps shooting at you periodically.
Yeah, he periodically just start cracking off rounds. Okay. So, and that was one of the, and again, goes back to, I didn't want people out on foot. Really, I wanted people in armor to make sure that we weren't getting somebody hurt out.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I mean, at what point do you discover where he's hidden?
Into the morning, probably around the time your team starts showing up. Some drones were able to get those up, and they are able to fly in between the shed and the house. Like I said, it's a covered awning in between there. They fly in there. He shoots out the door at one of the drones. Then it's up over the house. And there's a gap between the roof of the shed that kind of overhangs and the roof of the house. And there's actually pretty good drone footage of him engaging the drone, try it first with a rifle and then with the pistol trying to shoot it. I think he did a fairly good job. He downed 2 drones that morning.
Oh, wow. Them. From the shed.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now he's in the shed. He's killed 2 of your drones. Shot at the team, 50 some odd rounds down. What's your next move to try and manage this?
Like Joel said, we linked up, told him right away, hey, I want to move the van and the RV and put gas into that shed and or clear a way for us just to run that shed over.
Got it. So you're just going to kind of open up that side of the house. You're going to physically drag the van away?
Yeah. Yeah. So we ended up, with our Bearcat, we use, Lenco, we bought the brake and rake attachment capability on that. It was nice because when we picked up the Bearcat, that was one of the things that they had mentioned some other teams across the nation have done. So, we've been fortunate that we instantly started implementing that procedure with us with barricades, just be able to clear areas out, deny access to vehicles around properties. So in this case, we ended up moving to that 2-3 corner, loaded up our elements, secured up inside. We had those other 3 pieces of static armor that were deployed out, and then that gave us an opportunity for those static containment pieces, and then just used ours as kind of a maneuver element. Grabbed the van initially, pulled that out, blocked where he had been continuing to shoot at us from with their MRAP on that 2-3 corner, cleared the van, got that moved out of the way, went back, grabbed the 5th wheel, drug the 5th wheel out, ended up breaching the 5th wheel so that we could gain access into there, because there was, when he initially engaged their team as they were working to clear that property, is numerous rounds were fired into the rear end of the 5th wheel. So unknown if anyone had been occupying that or if we had somebody down inside. So we breached that. Took a little while, as everyone knows, to deal with RV doors and those things. Got that breach, got that cleared, removed that out of the piece. And then at that point, we started clearing the debris that was around the house and still up to the shed. So with all that debris, there are exercise equipment, washer and dryer outside, just piles of debris. And what it prevented it was we couldn't get all the way to be able to deploy. There was also the bushes were arborvitae that were kind of a barrier between where that fifth wheel was and the side of what would be the two side of the shed in that backyard. We just couldn't get proximity wise until we got all that stuff cleared out. So worked to clear all those things out. During that time, he'd rip rounds at us every once in a while through the side of the shed, again, confirming that he was in the shed still. So we ended up, after removing all that debris, swapped the heads out on the Bearcat so that we could have the ram cam and the gas injector capability. And then just as we're about to insert that through the wall of the shed, additional shots fired, and then we watched him run across the gap in between, which, I mean, very narrow gap between the shed and the house. He'd shot out in those rounds fired, shoots out the windows, and then Superman dives through. We can see that he's still armed with what looked like an AR-15, and then he's got a gas mask that it looked like he was wearing as well, and then dives into the house, so the 3 side of the house, and now has completely changed our environment of what we were working to shrink, and then now he's got access to the entire house again.
Got it. Yeah. So you've basically contained him to the shed, and he leaves the shed and goes back to the house and reopens the whole problem.
Right. And we had questions. I mean, we've had questions come up, just in talking about this incident as far as like, hey, did you consider occupying the house? And yeah, there was considerations in it. But when a guy's shooting at you with a rifle that goes through sheetrock and drywall and exterior walls, we just didn't feel that it based off priorities of life. It wasn't one of those to put team members inside that house that created exposure versus having them buttoned up in pieces of armor.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to move from cover to concealment. Right. The house would basically be concealment.
Exactly.
And overnight, we dumped a whole bunch of gas in there. So it is contaminated. Anything moving in there is going to stir that gas up. It was uncomfortable at best. We'd taken front windows. So my thought process as well was, all right, so he's in the house. If he's moving around in the house, that's going to give the snipers an option to be able to, shoot him from there. And we're still going to be able to be buttoned up in the armor. So,
did you guys think about putting one of the armored vehicles between the house and the shed, getting it into the backyard?
There was no way.
It was about maybe 4 feet, if that, like walkway size space.
Oh, okay.
Between the shed and the house, and then the shed backed up to the back fence. So it's a fairly small backyard.
Yeah.
And even if we had come around from the 4 side and driven through that fence, there was so much debris in that backyard, we wouldn't have been able to get anywhere through there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
makes sense.
On the 3 side as well, like Bob had mentioned earlier, is that adjacent property was elevated above. So there's a retaining wall that was back there in addition to the fence. So trying to drive anything on that backside, it was containment with snipers at that point, and then using the train as containment for him versus how this played out later. It's not necessarily containment for every aspect of it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So at this point, you've got him now back in the house. What's the next move?
Yeah. So we actually, so at that point, so Bob and I were dealing with comms issues. So a component of this that played
that never happened.
Right. Never an issue, especially with 3 teams. So 3 teams, Kitsap County was independent on their comms frequency. We had our 3 commanders were co-located in the command post so that they could coordinate in the command post, relay information. Because of our working relationship together with our teams, is we are able to talk on common frequencies that we had. However, every time we got inside the armor, you lose that capability again. So just where we were in Washington State, we deal with this a lot. And so on that common frequency, we were buttoned up inside, we'd lose that. So we'd have to open up the rear doors to be able to talk back on that frequency. So I put our tactical channel, we had an independent so that I could talk directly with the element as they were doing work and clearing those vehicles. And then I was running dual comms so I could be on the primary frequency as well. To mitigate that, Bob and I co-located together in our piece of armor as we were collapsing the problem down and having those other 3 pieces in static positions. He was able to maintain communication through that. So with that, putting us in there, once he left and went back into the house, left the shed, is we immediately just, instead of putting gas into the shed, backed off, repositioned, used the ram cam and injector, breached the 2 side of the garage in the house where it was in there, deployed gas inside the structure. And at that point, their CNT ended up back on the line with the suspect. We're able to reestablish comms with him or communication with him. And then they could hear him coughing and then water running. So we knew that based off that, it put him in proximity of our gas deployment into that garage area. So it gave us an idea where he was at. And then, like Bob mentioned earlier, as well as being able to see in on the one side, they didn't see movement throughout the rest of the house. So we at least got that initial gas deployment, say, okay, he's somewhere close to the garage, or at least within proximity of that where the gas was getting to him.
Got it. Okay. All right. So what's the next thing that evolves as this goes?
So he then decides he's going to try to flee in the vehicle. So camera watches the kind of lights come on the car. My guy's in the front Bearcat on the one side. See the garage door come up just enough to like the back or the back hood, maybe even the top of the car flies up. He jumps back in it and starts to back out of the garage. My piece of armor pulls up, bumps it, keeps him in the garage. So now the little Toyota Corolla that he's in is got the trunk just out of the garage, and it's an older house, one car garage. Like there is very little space on the sides of that vehicle around it. Garage doors down to just off the top of the trunk of the car. Then he starts going on with negotiators that he's got a bomb. Like, all right, new twist. Let's see where this goes. So he tells him he's got a bomb, that he's going to set it off, and he starts actually gives a countdown, I think twice, that didn't go anywhere with that. But the investigators are talking to family members, and one of the family members says, yeah, like he's actually had explosives before and commonly carries like some amount of dynamite on a necklace that he would wear on occasion. So we actually figured that he might have a bomb. Armor backs off a little bit. We talk to our EOD guys again and figure out that, hey, for what he would have readily accessible to him, we're good in the armor. So he continues a couple of these countdowns, like fine. Front armor pulls back from the vehicle just a little bit, just give him a little extra space. But yeah, nothing happens with the explosive stuff. So about that time, we reposition the armor. I think about that time, and we another round of gas in there.
Yeah, we backed out. So he's inside the car. It's still pinned in the car or in the garage area at this point. We end up backing out, reload the gas injector on the Bearcat, reinsert that so that we have visibility inside the garage. And about this time, when we can see him inside the passenger compartment of the vehicle. He actually, during that period of time, we can see through the windshield. It's backlit on the outside, but from the exterior, and kind of, I guess, to add to this scenario of what this looked like, is that car's partly hanging out. It's now daylight out, so it's Western Washington, overcast day. The back windows are tinted on the car. You cannot see inside at all. The only visibility we had was that ram cam that was through the 2 side of the garage, and we pressed it far enough in so that we had good visibility inside with the cameras, and we could see him inside that passenger compartment to verify that's where he was. So we've got that visibility, and then we've got CNT on the line off and on with him on the phone. During that time when he's in there, we watch him. He ends up smoking some different drugs, and then he is seated. He would position so he's seated against the dash of the vehicle, and then he would bring his rifle up to scan for anyone that was outside on the one side of the property exposed, trying to take shots at any of the officers.
So he's seeing back of the cars. You're looking at the back of the car. He's backwards in the car against the dash, looking back out of the garage at you guys.
Correct.
and trying to find a target.
and which we couldn't see through those tinted windows on the backside as it's nosed into the garage. We could only see through the windshield via the ram cam. So trying to address this threat, the command post is working on different options that we can do, but we didn't have anywhere where we could address that threat immediately, like with a sniper shot or anything that we just couldn't see inside. So at that point, it would have just been throwing rounds at something you can't necessarily see.
Got it.
To do that. So we're continuing to work through that.
What's the status of the female at this point?
At this point, she has been transported across the city. She's about 5-6 miles away in a hotel with the rest of her family.
So initially when she comes out, she's, in your mind, she's positioned as probably lying, but probably domestic violence victim. Not necessarily co-conspirator,
Just doesn't want her boyfriend to go to jail.
Doesn't want her boyfriend to go to jail. So now she's with her family in a hotel across town. Okay.
Yep. So Joel and I actually got out of the back of his Bearcat, move over to to our MRAP, which is now kind of off the 1-2 corner. Bearcat's still on the one side right up at the garage. We have a discussion. We come up with a plan. Brilliant plan on Joel's part there. We're going to put a piece of armor on either side of the driveway. His second Bearcat is en route. We're going to use the boom on that one, and we're going to drag the vehicle out with him in it, make it a vehicle barricade pinned between 3 pieces of armor with nowhere for him to go.
And a component with that is why we were waiting for that other piece of armor to show up is so didn't want to lose Kitsap County as far as their positioning with their piece of armor.
Because they're containing the 4 side?
Yeah, they're containing the 4 side. Our other Bearcat is still got the gas injector with the ram cam through, which at this point is our only visible way to have intelligence inside. And so at that point, the only visibility we have and confirmation for his location is with that ram cam. So if we back that piece of armor out, switch that, we now lose any of that interior movement inside that garage.
Got it.
And the garage, again, 1-car garage. And just like the rest of the property, it's full of things. So it's the same setting. Later that plays into role is a very conservative assessment on it is it's maybe got a foot on either side of the vehicle. Rest of it's ladders and other debris that are pushed up that close to it.
Yeah, I think if you're a meth hoarder, you have to first fill your garage with crap, and then you fill your backyard with crap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you pull your appliances out and put them in your yard next to the shed.
Well, you got to take those outside so you can fit your motorcycle in your kitchen.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, your ram cam is in the 2 side of the house.
Yes.
Going into the garage.
Going into the garage right near the 2-3 corner.
And you've got like decent visibility of the guy, or you've got good visibility of the guy?
Good visibility inside that garage of where he's seated in there. And then you can see, it's primarily, I would say, silhouette because he's being backlit by the daylight outside through that.
Got it.
Partially open garage. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So what's next?
So we're out of the armor. We come up with the plan. His armor is on its way, not too far out. At that point, one of my gas guys in my Bearcat up front asks, "Hey, do you want us to put gas into the back of the car?" Thought for a second, I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And then we thought, well, no, like we came up with this plan. Like, if he's content in that car for right now, let's leave him there. Let's drive him out of that, and let him have access to whatever else is in that house, any other guns or anything. If he's content to stay in that car, we'll leave him there. Armor's almost here. Drag it out. Put our plan into to motion. So that's why we didn't try to take that back window or anything. Well, we were waiting for that other piece of armor to come.
Yeah, because he's barricaded in a car that's barricaded in a garage.
Yeah. Right. And a consideration with this is if we can get that car outside of the garage, now gives us options because it's at that point contain the vehicle between the piece of armor. So if he wants to go through the windshield, he's going to have to breach the windshield and then run in open air option back into the garage and into the house. Or once we get there with that other piece of armor, we can then breach. Both our Bearcats are set up almost the same way in the sense that we have gas injector ram cam on both as well as that break and rank. So Once we drag it out, then we can insert gas, have all those capabilities still from positions of cover to be able to deploy and influence his environment. And that's the thing in this is, I say ultimately what we do is we're just working to influence somebody's decision-making process. And every time we changed his environment, we did get a reaction. I mean, we elicited a response out of that. In a sense, we collapsed him down, made him uncomfortable in the shed. He left the shed, went to the house. Once he's in the house, we made him uncomfortable there with the gas, makes threats that he's going to use explosives, continues to shoot at us. So then he goes to the car, tries to leave the car, goes back and forth in the garage. But then once we have him contained in there, smokes the drugs that are in there. And then at that point, he starts to settle down a little bit, and he's on the phone a lot more with negotiators during that period of time. So we were trying to seize that opportunity that had presented itself and keeping him contained in that car, further shrinking that environment, and putting it on the aspect where now it's one thing that we can control between those pieces of armor.
What's he telling negotiators?
So he, again, was super upset. He wanted to see his wife. He wanted to talk to his wife. They did a phenomenal job. There's, listen to the audio, a fair amount of the time that you can't understand what he's saying. He's so fired up. He's Pacific Islander. So he had an accent anyways, but he was so fired up, just sounds coming out of him instead of actual words. You could pick out a word here or there. They got a couple of recordings and played those for him from family members to try to get him to calm down. And in fact, about 9 o'clock in the morning, investigators went back over to the hotel, recontacted the female. We're working on getting a recording from her to play for him. She again told him that she wanted to go to the house, that she wanted to be there with him, all of those things. And she was warned again, hey, don't go there. If you go anywhere near there, you are going to be arrested. So, and that was around 9 o'clock.
Okay. Does she give them the recording or?
And I don't know. I don't know if they actually got the recording from her.
But it never gets played for the suspect.
Never gets played for.
Okay. So we're at 9 a.m. now.
Yep. So that was at 9 a.m. Joel and I out of the Barricade coming up with this plan. We have my ATL that's at that one side Barricade come on over. We run the plan past him. He's like, no, sounds like a decent plan. And I think we can make this work. This is, what I'm going to need to be able to reposition where we're at, get the vehicles in place. He went back over to brief the team on what that plan was. Like I said, again, I'd already gotten a hold of command post, and we had made plans and started to make further plans about getting a team in to relieve us, whether that was going to be the rest of Joel's team or another team to take over the whole thing, give us some break time, and then come back. But those were all things that were in the works. About 9:58, I think it was, Joel and I are standing out on the side of the MRAP, and we watch his team still at that 2-3 corner. They give out information that he's out of the car, running towards the back of the house. Cool. All right, let's see where this goes. The next thing that we see and hear is Joel's team giving commands and launching some pepper balls. Like, that's an interesting choice. We're going to pepper ball this guy. I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes. Like, maybe they didn't have a shot. Like, I don't know what's going on.
And when he says running out, this is still within that one car garage. So he gets out of the car and runs toward the 3 side of that garage area, that contained area.
Okay.
So it's just a small area.
Yep. Within the house, he's running towards the back of the house. So, his team deploys pepper balls, and we're outside, and then we're looking back towards the garage, and you can see some movement from the car. We get information. He's back in the car. He had the pistol I think his pistol was in his right hand. He's in the passenger seat of the car. 2 minutes later at 10 o'clock, almost exactly, I think my commander gets on the air and says, hey, Kitsap's advising a female just ran into the back of the structure. What are you talking about? And I look at Joel. I was like, They just said a female ran in there. So he gets on the air to talk to his team. And so we're both trying to figure this out. And his team ultimately comes back and says, yeah, she jumped the 4-side fence, runs across the backyard. She falls once, gets back up, runs over to the man door on the back of the garage. Garage door opens. And as your team said, essentially she got snatched into the house, almost like off her feet, pulled into the house. Okay. And now she's in the house. They wind up in the car.
So I'm running dual comms again, doing this. So I'm hearing what is going out from the command post on the primary channel in one ear. That information about the females being put out, and then almost simultaneously, I'm getting the information in my other ear from my team saying, "Hey, a female just ran through the 3-side. We just put pepper ball, and now she's inside the garage." So it comes out later as far as the snatching. That's more like a debrief point that we had with our team. But at that point, they say, "Hey, this female just went inside the garage with them." And so
the female comes in from the outside, breaches the containment, runs into the backyard, runs into the back of the garage, and is now in the car with the suspect.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you guys yet know that this is the same female that was pulled out earlier?
No.
Or it's just some woman ran into your containment and
Just
climbed in the car with the suspect?
Yeah.
And so we're at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Yep.
You still have the ram cam
Yep.
in the 2-side. So you're at least seeing that she's in the car.
So at this point, we get that. We're both like, what female? What is going on? And then all of a sudden, I get over our tactical radio frequency channel that I'm running with my guys, is they put out, "Hey, he's hitting her." And then I get yelled verbally from the guys that are at the piece of armor, and that's how close we all are in proximity to each other. They say, "Hey, he's got a gun to her head." And at this same time, negotiators on the other side, in the other primary frequency, are saying, "Hey, he's hitting her." They're yelling. He says he's going to kill her.
So we go from a 7-hour barricade to a 10 o'clock self-created hostage situation.
Yeah.
That is escalated to he's beating her and has a gun to her head.
Correct.
In like a minute.
Yes.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy.
That's sporty.
Yeah.
And now, not just in a house where we've got like some solutions. He's now inside of a car. She's in the driver's seat. He's in the passenger seat. Contained in a garage doors down most of the way, tinted windows all the way around, and no space to get around the vehicle.
And 1 foot of space basically around all 3 sides of the vehicle.
Yeah. So,
and at this point, you guys are in a barricade, right? You're in a barricade posture. You're not in an HRT posture.
correct.
You're thinking arrest team.
Yeah.
And you're in the backs of armor, trying not to put people out where you can shoot at them.
Right.
Right.
That's where everybody's headspace was. Looking at footage afterwards, hearing the conversations from the teammates inside of the different pieces of armor. She definitely got into our OODA loop. Like there was
The aspect of fog was there for all of us.
Oh yeah, no, I mean you don't expect somebody to self hostage,
Right.
everybody's like, what?
and you
Wait,
don't expect a barricade to become a hostage situation, and a minute later he's got a gun to her head and he's beating her. Like that's a pretty rapid change of events.
Yeah, and it was, what female? Oh, there's a female in the house. Where'd she come from? Oh, she ran in, like, and trying to figure out as the TL, I was like, okay, working through. Well, she just ran in. Like, is this their plan to try to escape? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Are they going to Bonnie and Clyde their way out of here?
Yeah, I'll hold you hostage. They'll let us leave. Like, what's going on? I made the decision right then to launch the emergency rescue. We get up to the vehicle, and again, it was super quick. Like, we didn't have time to really get into the mode of, hey, we're at a hostage rescue. Barricade to hostage rescue like that. So did we miss some things? Absolutely. I was not able to get out. I had said that he had gotten into the passenger seat. Then the female information came out, and I was like, there's a female in the house with him, because I didn't know kind of where people were at that point. And as negotiators are talking on the radio, so I wasn't able to put out that they were both still back in the vehicle and where she was at. So as the team, I call the emergency hostage rescue team from the Barricade primary. Joel and I actually ran up with them along with one of his guys. And those initial guys were confused, for lack of a better, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? And Joel did a great job of starting to give commands as, start breaching windows, get me windows out, bangs. And so we were able to get 2 bangs deployed. And in most circumstances, somebody's going to breach stuff. You've got a breacher for that specific purpose. Well, we didn't have anybody like right then that was in that frame of mind, or, the windows on the car kind of stovepiped us, for lack of a better. ATL super switched on, started working the window with the muzzle of his gun, was able to get a hole started in that window. Got some help from Joel and a couple other guys. The first guy in the stack, most HRs, we wouldn't have a shield. He was still in that barricade, was holding the shield, so he moved up with the shield. He's a little guy, was able to squeeze his way in along that driver's side of the car. So he was on her side of the car. As the guys were trying to work that back window problem, Joel was able to see in, but didn't have a shot. I remember him saying, try to get that headrest out of the way. I came around to the passenger side of the car, and I had enough to just lean in, reach in, and open see if the back passenger door was open or unlocked. Fortunately, it was, and I had his back available to me. The seat was reclined some. They were in an active fight over the center console of the vehicle. He had her pulled mostly onto his side of the car, but they were actively struggling with each other in that front passenger compartment of the car.
Is he hitting her, or is he just like pulling her onto his side to protect himself? What do you think?
He's got her. So what I saw when the back window finally went, and so we had that initial push to the car, get one of the breaches which just left, it's a suppressor size hole in the back glass.
Because the window tinting, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So as guys are fighting around that car, and as they fight around the car, I mean, we're talking like rear axle is as far as we got, basically down the side of the car. So, I mean, I know our team, like whether it's single-sided, dual-sided approach on an HR in a car that we train all the time, like you could not get to an angle down that car. And so we're working to breach that. When we finally did get that breach, as guys are shifting around, I ended up, when the window breaks away, I see them in a fight over the center console. He has her in a headlock, basically, with his left arm. He, unbeknownst to myself and others, he had already turned, and as we were making the approach to the car, he puts a round through the headrest, which strikes the back pillar of the car, doesn't exit the car at us, but is shooting at us on approach. He has that revolver tucked down against her head underneath. He's got her in that headlock, and they are basically in a ball of dark clothing and body over the top, and he's got his head tucked down, but he's yelling, "I've got a hostage, I've got a hostage." She is screaming, obviously in fear for her life at that point. No matter how this started and going in there was no question as to she was fearing for her life and did not want to die at that point when that happened. And so because of that, when the window went initially, I did not have a shot on him where his head was at, concerned about rounds passing through, especially in the close proximity within that vehicle. I mean, we're talking feet off a muzzle at that point. And so then Bob ends up being able to take that first engagement, which then created separation. And then it was almost simultaneously for the rest of us, which in turn there ended up being 4 rifle shooters, including myself, and 2 handgun shooters.
So there's 6 guys around the car shooting into the car.
Yes.
Suspect has shot back at you at least once, has her in a headlock, gun to her head.
Yep.
And they're actively fighting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And everyone's fighting to try and find that angle. And so that was, Bob talked about as we're calling things out, that was, I guess, a component in like just trying to help people as a TL in this situation as far as that thought process and get through the fog and start getting those gears turning again. Calling out, hey, breach windows, bangs, find an angle, and repeating that stuff. And I'll say for myself, watching the video after, as guys were calling out, like, where's he at? I skipped A in this. Like, I didn't re-identify that crisis location once we got to the car. Said the rest after that to get people moving in that. But it was a component because we had that kind of gap where talked about where he was at in the car. Then you get the information of the female is, I think a lot of that got lost in radio traffic as it occurred. And so getting that re-identified where that crisis location was.
And talked about, there's a bunch of people that shot and everybody was fighting for that shot to try to get an angle. And when you look at the video, everybody's shots are within like 2 seconds of each other. So all of the shots are that quick. And so ultimately, he is killed, but she takes what's called what was identified in the coroner's report as a deep graze wound to the back of her head. They were able to recover some of the fragments from that. And unfortunately, it came back to being the ammo that my team uses and from one of our rifles. So that leaves one of the three of us that fired around that ultimately killed her. Not awesome, but also we don't know what happened to that round prior to hitting her.
So, okay. So how many rounds are fired?
So 29 rounds from law enforcement.
Okay. How many rounds hit him?
No idea. They were unable to, almost every round was a pass through. And so they were not able to accurately figure that out. There were a bunch that were on top of each other. And so they couldn't get like good trajectories as far as where they were at when rounds hit and account for all of those rounds. There were, I believe the report was at least 7 individual entrances that, bullet wounds that they were able to identify as solely being those, with others probably in and amongst those as well.
Got it. Okay. How many rounds strike her?
So she had a graze wound to the hand. She had for lack of a better, as it was described, a deep graze wound to the back of her head. And then she had a wound on her shoulder.
And the wound on the shoulder was frag or something, or?
I believe it was probably a bullet wound. It wasn't super clear in the report. There wasn't a round recovered from it or anything like that.
Got it. What kills her?
That wound to the head.
Okay. So the deep graze wound
was deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where was it on the head?
Back of the head. So it was seemingly, I didn't see diagrams or anything like that, but from the report, it seems like it was mostly midline in the back of the head. Deep
so he's holding her like this as the team shooting on one of the rounds probably goes through and catches across the back of her skull.
Whether it, was a complete pass through of the round. Interesting kind of part is that they recovered 3 of my rounds in his torso that stayed in, but all the other rounds were complete pass throughs. The round that they recovered and were able to identify as ours, there were fragments from, and they were able to identify it by that fragment. So, like I said, we don't know if it hit bone, if it hit something metal in the car before it went into her. We don't know what happened to that. What happened?
So they don't find that round.
Nope.
Just fragmentation of the round.
Yeah. So I mean, it could have very easily deflected off of something and hit her.
Correct. Yeah, because I fired 7 rounds, and then they didn't identify any of those rounds as being in him in the autopsy report.
When you say pass-throughs, do you mean that they went through him, like through and throughs?
Yep.
Correct.
How many holes does he have in his body?
Like I said, they were able to identify, I think, 17 individual.
17.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, and so, I mean, this whole engagement is probably 2 seconds or something?
Yeah. 2 seconds, like start to end for all rounds fired. I would say that's even
pretty
conservative.
Generous.
Yeah, that's pretty generous as far as the overall duration. It's quick. Yeah.
And when do you guys first figure out she's hit?
Nearly immediately, I see her slump forward. She'd come up and then she slumped forward again. I knew right away, and I think Joel did too. We started giving commands to get her out of the car, get aid going right away. They remove her from the car. Team does a great job of dragging her back to cover behind the Barricade, just like we train it. They had Thames up there immediately, identified the vehicle that was going to take her to paramedics. Plan was already in place. Aircraft was en route to the near hospital to take her over to Harborview, which is a level 1 trauma center. She makes it to the hospital in the ambulance, winds up succumbing to her injuries at the hospital there before she ever gets transferred over to Harborview.
Got it. Okay, so let's kind of walk through. I mean, this is obviously this thing is, one, constantly evolving, and two, a series of very complicated problems that all of a sudden, end in 2 minutes of you have to go.
Yep.
From a position where you're not really prepared to go, right? You're not in a hostage rescue posture at the point that the hostage rescue kicks off. So let's kind of walk through what you guys see as lessons learned from this. I mean, obviously, it's not the result that you desired, right? Like this is not an ideal result. I mean, his part of it is, her part is obviously not.
Yeah.
But for other teams, from a lessons learned standpoint, where would you start? What do you think the big things we need to think about in this case are?
I think going back, something that Joel had said earlier was train those immediate action drills. Have those ready, have those in your back pocket so you don't have to think about them. So you move out of danger areas quickly, effectively.
I know for us, one of those aspects as far as like immediate action drills is, I mean, everyone's got kind of their plan contingencies that they run for their team. One that our team has implemented since this is we always plan an HR contingent. So if we're doing a warrant service, if we're at a barricade, I will designate who is the immediate action or the react element that's going to go in if we have to make a crisis entry. Just being prepared for those type of things. That's been a big takeaway for us.
We've done the exact same thing. No matter what it is, even if we know that they're the only ones, hey, this is the primary, this is the plan, this is how we're going to handle it. Should it turn into an HR?
Yeah. Another component is just readily accessible breaching equipment for each individual team member. So whether it's a shield spike or a small Halligan, anything along those lines, so that we're avoiding having to, somebody having to use the muzzle of their rifle that has potential issues downstream when it comes to an engagement after the fact. If you get glass in there, you knock off your zero, anything along those lines could be potential with that. So just more accessible breaching equipment, and then in turn training that during scenarios for that implementation. This is a scenario you try to think of things. We both teach SWAT Basic for WASTO, our state association, and have been doing that for a long time. In other courses, advanced courses, HR courses, and those things. And honestly, this is a scenario that had not come into my head. And I trying to think of similar ones that have happened across the nation. It's not one of those that really comes to mind. And so being able to write scenarios, prepare your team members for situations like this that are, outside the box type things that occur, and being able to work through those. So those are kind of really the two for our team in our role of this. Some positives: know your friends, know your capabilities, the other teams that you work with. For me, answer my phone one phone call earlier, but at the same time, it's having those relationships established on the front end, because if you wait till the day to make that phone call and you're like, hey, I need you for a piece of armor and this, when you get out there, you're not going to have those working relationships. You're going to have to overcome establishing a relationship between the people on the ground. And then that creates dilemmas, that creates opportunities for the suspects to take advantage of. And so having those done on the front end is extremely important. It's all about relationships.
Along with that is know their capabilities and their equipment. I knew the teams around us. I knew what they had. I want Joel's team specifically because I wanted his breaching and the ram cam and gas injector on the front of that Barricade. I knew Kitsap didn't have that, but I also knew you've got a team, you've got an MRAP. I need you for a containment spot in that armor. But again, those relationships ahead of time are huge, and you in the command roles, you make friends and you know those people, but getting your teams training together and introducing people, and I might not know their name, but I've seen that face before. I've seen them at training and I've trained with them, and I know what they're going to do. I know how that team works, and I know what their reactions are going to be. Something else is their command structure and how your commanders are going to work together. That plays huge in some of these incidents, as well as kind of what's a timeline look like for them if you need them right away. What does their call out procedure look like? Are they 2 hours out? Are they 3 hours out? I know Joel's team's coming from all over the state. If I need a full team, it's going to be a little bit. I want to give them some heads up, but I know if I need just a smaller contingent, he can be there pretty quickly, given where we're at in Western Washington there.
So you guys have taught together for Wistoa for years. You're friends.
Yes.
Your teams had trained together.
Correct. Yeah.
How often did the two teams train together?
I think we two or three times last year. Even if it was just a small portion of their team, we did some bus assault training. Had some of their guys come out. We had some buses. We invited them to come out, and then we'd done some maritime training about a month and a half before this actually kicked off. So,
had you guys trained integrating the two teams together at all?
Not directly. No. I'll say no. It's
Are your tactics the same? Is your movement the same?
Yes. Conceptually, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things in there as far as clear communication. And that's one thing I think on the state side is we do work with a lot of different teams throughout the state. And depending on those relationships, what those between frequency of training and those things is going to determine, I guess, the proximity of how our teams work together or how closely our teams work together. I will say in this one, in the sense that like myself and the other teammate that was involved, and we had another one that was right there as far as deploying one of the NFDs. It was the proximity of that crisis site to the location of the two pieces of armor, and then the number of personnel that were at those. So it wasn't like a full integration, like going inside and making a dynamic entry into a house on an HR type situation. In this one, it was at that car looking for work that was going on. And so it was that proximity of the crisis site, as well as I would say that the dynamic of that location and where this had occurred.
So you had 6 personnel around the car? How many were around the car?
I think I had 4, you had 2, yeah. I think it was 6.
That were involved. We had one more that was there. He deployed a bang. So I think by the time, there was about, I would say 7 or 8.
And about half and half then.
Yeah.
I'd actually say probably a few more than that because the rest of the R1 team had come up. So by the time, and looking at the overhead view of it, there was drone footage of it. They were pretty much let us do work. And then there were a couple that deployed bangs that were coming up. And then everybody else kind of staged at that back corner. And as soon as we extricated her from the vehicle, that contingent grabbed onto her, and that was a combination of both teams providing aid on her as they moved her back behind cover. Right. That was a pretty cool integration to watch that on camera too. The communication between them back and forth, working through assessments of her, and then getting her off to the medics.
Yeah, once we get him in custody as well. Control that at the vehicle as far as assigning responsibilities. Bob and a couple of the other ones end up moving up, taking him out of the vehicle. Once we get him out of the vehicle, then we still have the rest of the house in the garage to clear. Like we haven't cleared the remaining area around us to make this truly a safe scene. And so I end up calling out at that point as far as getting the garage cleared, getting the house cleared, and we started to watch the teams still working together in a sense that it was one thing to do this in that immediate reaction to the HR situation in that launch, but we wanted to take that deep breath and be able to pause before continuing to clear that area. So we put everything on hold at that point, our team, the state's team, we took the garage area, ended up clearing and holding that. And then Bob's team moved over. Pierce County cleared the main structure. So as soon as we could, it was realigning those things.
Right. Yeah. Split the assets back up.
Yep.
Had either of your teams trained really confined space HR before?
No, I'll say our team had not like that.
Not in that sense. No.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams trained, vehicle assaults, but
Yeah.
vehicle assaults with no space around the vehicle is a very different problem. It's almost like clearing a room.
Yeah. And we do a lot of, room clearing HRs. With the maritime responsibility on our state ferry system, there is a lot of confined spaces around that. But you're still looking at making entry into a room, even if it's a small closet or big enough area that I can get 2 people in. It's still the principles of, CQB work as far as inside that room, working those angles, is trying to establish an L and fight for angles in that. In this case, in that vehicle, there wasn't that, like trying to fight those angles that we would want to create in this proximity. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And we train.
There's no angles.
Exactly. And we train, if you can't find an angle, then it's time to close the distance. And maybe it's a contact shot or anything like that to get that separation, to get them off of each other. And there was you couldn't get any other angle than what we had. And you couldn't get any closer. I think I was able to get the closest off of that side door and in the corner there. But yeah, like you couldn't close the distance to get them off of each other. So
that's ugly. How has this changed the way you guys manage perimeters? Because obviously, if the perimeter's more secure, she doesn't get back in, right? And you have 3 pieces of armor surrounding the house. Like it's pretty secure perimeter.
Yeah.
But like, has this changed anything in the way that you manage your perimeters?
I think at least for us on the non-SWAT side of it, whoever we've got, as far as patrol side, trying to control that outer perimeter, making sure we've got people back and identifying ways for, hey, if somebody's going to come in, they're going to come this way, and then trying to pre-position. But again, on this one, like if we had anybody closer to that 3-4 corner of the house, it's a wooden fence there, and it was a straight alley from the shed for him to be able to put rounds through there. So hindsight, the best they could tell was she, like 2 houses away, dipped into their backyards, went through backyards, ran across the small open area, and then on the 4 side of the house, and then jumped the fence into that 3 side area. So
by the time she hops the fence, she's feet from the garage.
Right.
Yeah.
So even, if that team had been out on foot at that armor, could they have closed the distance as motivated as she was? I argue probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say though, it goes into the education on the front end for patrol officers, for detectives that are out there. And I think establishing clear expectations of what you have for those assignments. We've seen it over the years. Everybody, I think, has seen this, where as you have containment set, they're not necessarily looking out, they're looking in, because cops get curious and want to see what's going on. And so,
and theoretically, that's where the threat's coming from, right? Like you're setting a perimeter because the threat's inside the perimeter.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so now having to kind of fix that in a sense, or re-educate, in the sense that they need to be aware of people approaching them. And usually people approaching them is somebody trying to show up with a cell phone and record them, not necessarily come into their scene. So it's making sure that they have that expectation, or understand that clear expectation of.
And much more cognizant of, hey, like a DV victim, maybe we're not going to let her go, or maybe we're going to make some concessions to take her somewhere that we've got eyes on her for the duration, that type of thing. And I think, hindsight being 2020 now, we are well aware to watch our backs and make sure that we don't have somebody trying to get into the perimeter. Will it ever happen again? To our team, probably not.
Yeah, but
everybody's aware of it.
Yeah, this is a really part of the reason I wanted to sit down with you guys is this is a weird case.
Yeah.
Right? Like it starts off as maybe there's a hostage, but she comes out right away and she's moderately compliant and she's a domestic violence victim. You're like, okay, so we've now got this thing down to a barricade, and then the barricade moves, and then the barricade moves somewhere else. And then, and the guy's shooting at you. And then all of a sudden in 2 minutes, we're going to go from barricade he's trapped in the car to he's got a hostage, he's going to kill her.
Yep.
So it is, I think it is part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation is it is an unusual case that forces teams to think about how situations can evolve and the framing of the situation can change unexpectedly.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I will challenge teams out there to write scenarios that force you to change gears mentally, and push that, challenge your teams. I think we continue to do that, and I think even kicked it up a notch since this event, especially, is challenging your team to be able to can individual operators, can the leadership, can everybody on your team change gears? Can they go from a barricade mindset to an HR? Can they make that shift that needs to occur in there? And in turn with that is like, I mean, just like any time we use force is then you stop that force as soon as it's, reasonable to be able to do so, and then start to work toward de-escalation, especially in Washington State. Like we have those expectations that's written into law for us. And so you need to be able to change gears either way. And the more that you can do that with your teams, I don't think it's ever going to be perfect in that sense, but we strive toward that and strive toward working for that perfection. That way you have something to come back to. And in a situation like this, at least being able to do that. I know for me personally in this, like that fog that we're working through from all of a sudden, barricade, female comes in, we do the HR attempted rescue on this situation. We have what plays out in that car. We have to deal with getting her out, rendering aid, still that confined space. We take him into custody, and then now we're going back to clearing a post-barricade, post-HR residence. And so getting that shift done to do that safely according to safety priorities at that point, which change constantly. And especially in this, like change to extremes.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, fantastic. Thank you for sitting down with me and talking through this. I appreciate you doing it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it.